Thank you so much for joining us for a new season of No Tippy Tappy Football.
And then my mum, last minute, my mum was like, hold on a minute, there's no goal bonus on it. You think we're paying him all this money to what, to miss them?
I've got to tell you, Sam Allardyce loves you. Absolutely loves you. Has mentioned you so many times. One player that you almost signed that nobody might know about.
Iniesta.
So he started it, so you could imagine, we just started screaming. It's like we won the FA Cup. We jumped up and just started screaming. And
You opened the bottle of wine, it was a bottle of Vimto.
no way.
And I've gone.
What?
I said to him, that's interesting. I said, last time I played in front of my own, it was at Wembley against Bulgaria for England. Scored a hat-trick with my left foot. Yeah, well, there's definitely no tippy-tappy football, I can tell you that.
Thank you so much for joining us for a new season of No Tippy Tappy Football, brought to you by William Hill. We're back, and we're starting this season with a very special live episode. Sam and I have travelled down to London for this special season preview, and we are so excited to be back with you all. So thank you so much for joining us. Sam, we're back. I'm so happy to see you, because obviously I always worry that your phone's going to ring. So what's happened this summer?
Well, nothing's happened in this country. I did have a Kuwait national team or Bahrain national team from an ex-player I used to manage, actually, called Tal Ben Naim, who's in Israel. Actually helped Robbie Keane get the job over there in Maccabi Tel Aviv. Yes. So but no, not for me yet. We'll just don't have to wait till November, first round of sackings, and somebody might ring. Who knows? You know what I mean? So, you never can tell.
You've been very popular on Twitter this week, though. I've been on holiday. I only got back yesterday, so I missed this. But apparently you had a very popular TV appearance this week, trending on Twitter. Could you tell us all about yourself and Ainsley Harriott?
It was just before the World Cup, actually. That programme. Cooking and talking about memories and stories about the World Cup and all that. So obviously I saw it flashing up. One or two people have sent it to me again. So I'd actually forgotten all about it till it came back again. But yeah, it was a good afternoon. He's such a funny guy, Ainsley. Food was good as well. Wine was good. Company was good. So Ollie Murs turned up. You know what I mean? So no Ollie from Soccer Aid days, of course. All them years ago. So yeah, it was a good afternoon to spend, and I feel privileged when you manage to get on a show like that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that Ainsley Harriott's not pinched you and you're back.
Sam,
Susie Salt and Percy Pepper. Didn't you remember that?
Can I interrupt you? Ainsley's a neighbour of mine.
Is he?
Well, he was. Up in Wandsworth. Yeah.
Right. Brilliant.
Met him a few times.
That voice might give you a little bit of an indication of who our special guests are today. We have two special guests. Sam, would you like to introduce them?
Well, lads on my left, obviously, this guy was the saviour. Everybody used to talk about me being saving Sunderland when I went up there and helping them get out of real trouble. I think I took over after about 9 matches, and thought it was arguably one of the. Don't like saying this. One of the worst squads I'd experienced when I first took over, particularly defensively. And but there was one saviour, one man that I could always depend on, and I had to ask him this question. Dick Advocaat left and I took over. I had to ask him this question. All the coaches that I stayed with, let them stay there, Paul Bracewell and that. And I said, is it all right if you play up front on your own? And he went, yeah, right, no problem, boss. You know what I mean? No problem, Gaffer. I said, well, because everybody says you have a bit of a soul colour, you know what I mean? And he goes, no, I'll play up front. So anyway, 15 goals, 18 goals in total that season was why, well, one of the main reasons when we survived, of course. And having bought a few players in January to make the team play proper football, which was about going from A to B as quick as you can with the quality that you need, and making sure you create an opportunity in and around the box that gets the fans excited. And of course, this guy scored all the goals then, so we couldn't often give him as many chances as we like, but when we did, so he's the main reason we kept up. So, and I've been in touch with him whenever I can and watched him carefully since he went to Rangers, and so a fantastic career, and so pleased when I rang him up. He just said, yeah, see you, Gaff. see you there, no problem whatsoever. So, Jermain, thanks very much for coming today.
No problem.
And of course, Alex has been a friend for a while, and of course we've battled only slightly, not often, over the years. In terms, I think it was Birmingham when we probably battled against each other the most. So, welcome, and then we spent a time in the Caribbean where we bumped into each other with our wives and had a good week, like you mean. So
Yeah,
it was good fun then. So, of course, we meet up with Sir Alex and all that after that. You know what I mean? And it's great that he turned up again today. And last time I was with him was me, Alex, Gordon Strachan doing a charity function in Glasgow, of course, and we were doing a Q&A. Me and Alex sat there while Gordon answered all the questions because we couldn't get him off the mic. So is that right, Alex? You know what I mean? But anyways, Alex, thanks very much for coming. It's a real pleasure.
Jermain Defoe and Alex McLeish joining us today. Jermain, I don't know if you ever listened to No Tippy Tappy Football. If not, you need to go back and listen to the episodes, because I've got to tell you, Sam Allardyce loves you. Absolutely loves you. Has mentioned you so many times in the course of the podcast last season, talking about you made anytime anyone asked him for his best ever players he'd played with, for his best team, you were always the first name on the team sheet. Give us some memories of your time working with Sam.
Well, there's definitely no
the good ones.
Football. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, there's definitely no tippy-tappy football, I can tell you that. And it was, to be fair, obviously, I remember my time at West Ham when I was young coming through. And I used to hate going to Bolton. Always difficult games, the physical team. I think they had Davo and Les Ferdinand up front, very physical. But yeah, and obviously when I knew that Sam was coming to Sunderland, I was delighted to work with another manager that was probably, reminded me of the Harry Redknapp's, that experienced manager. And when he come in, to be fair, and like he said, we had the meeting and that. He said, can you play in front of your own? And I was just like, well, yeah, of course. As long as I'm playing, and I'm happy. But it was just never complicated anything. Always, it was one of those managers always gave the players confidence. And I remember a few times in training where, I used to get frustrated. So if I didn't get the ball, I'd get frustrated. I'd make runs and that. But you get a lot of managers don't really. They'll turn around to a forward and be like, okay, he's fine, I'll tell him. But Sam used to do it on the pitch. He'll blow his whistle, stop the session, and he would basically just pull it on the players. And I mean, it was brilliant. The lads loved him. And you know what? When you know that you're loved at a ground, is when I remember when he was linked to an England job. It was actually, I think it was in Austria. Yeah. And I remember being on pre-season. You know what it's like where all the players are talking, is the manager leaving, blah, blah, blah. And the players used to say, he's your dad. JD, go and speak to your dad. Like, that was the thing in the change room. Jay, go and, I was like, what are you talking about? You're the favourite. Jay, go and speak to your dad. And I remember we went for a walk and that, and I thought, I'm just going to ask him. I said, boss, what's happening? You get the England job? He goes, yeah, I think so. It looks like it, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, and that was it. And I remember going back to the training ground, and literally everyone in the training ground was affected. You walk into the offices, all the girls that do the admin, go into the laundry room, and everyone was just like, it felt like someone had died. Do you know what I mean? But you don't really get that. People like in football, players and managers move on. But when Sam was leaving, it was everyone. It was hard for everyone in the club.
Oh, Sam, I like
me emotional.
Yes. So what's your view? Of course, this is No Tippy Tappy Football. Yeah. How do you feel about No Tippy Tappy Football and also playing No Tippy Tappy Football under Sam?
Do you know what? I'm old school, and I understand obviously the game's moved on, and obviously you've got the Pep Guardiolas, who's a genius, and of course the game's moved on, and obviously last season was my first year coaching in the academy at Tottenham. And, people always say, even if you've played at the top level for 23 years, there's no guarantee you're going to be a top coach. I mean, we've seen that, before. So, yeah, but I'm part of the old school. I do believe that, I remember I played up front with Crouchy. And there was times in games where I'd think, right, just go long to Crouchy, he'll flick it on, I'm in behind. And then it's just simple as that. Instead of sort of like, sometimes I don't believe you have to play through midfield or, all these different sort of like numerical advantages and all that sort of stuff. I do believe that, at times, when I first started anyway, it was more direct than, tippy-tappy.
You'll like to hear that, eh? You'll like that. So we worked out Sam absolutely loves Jermain. He gave you a nice introduction, Alex, but there is a story that I want to bring up. Let's just find out if it's true or not. Did you steal a player from Sam Allardyce when you were at Rangers? Dado Prozo?
Dado Perso, PRSO.
Did you steal him?
Not an easy one to pronounce, but I wasn't aware until I got.
I was.
So Sam never called me up on that one over the years, and we've been in touch for a long time. But David Murray was the chairman at Rangers, and we had a barren season the season before, and normally at Rangers that results in the sack. But the chairman or the owner knew that I had a bad hand of cards, and he said, "Look, we go again." And I said, "Well, we must make signings in advance." And Dado was playing at Monaco, and at the end of the season, he was a free agent, and we obviously you have to do all that homework. And I said, "Well, listen, I'll go out and see him." And it was only Real Madrid in the semi-finals of the Champions League in Monaco, so it was a bad kind of journey, that one.
I was there. I was at that game.
we at that game. And Dado absolutely ripped them apart. The fantastic Real Madrid central defenders, supposedly. And I said, we've got to have that big man at Ibrox. And there was a story going around that Dado had actually played for Monaco at Ibrox, and he could not believe the stadium. And he said it was in his memory. He says, "Someday I want to play here." And that he said that when I met him, and in his first introduction to the squad, we were in the States and in America, and he said, I said, "Big man, you got to sing a song, and for the rest of the lads to accept you into the tribe." And he, no hesitation, he boomed out, "Whoa, we're halfway there, whoa!" So phenomenal. And I says, he's a big shy bloke, so that he will be a tremendous asset to this club.
So you're denying stealing him?
And I'm sorry.
Well, I met him the day after that game, the day before, with his agent, and I'm not blaming. Listen, this went on all the time. I'm not blaming Alex for any of that, because obviously at that particular time, Rangers was a bigger. Well, the only thing we really pumped then at Bolton was about being in the Premier League, the best league in the world, still is obviously, but obviously the lure of Rangers and what he has in the back of his mind, the history Rangers have, I could understand why he went there. But he'd agree. Nobody agrees until they sign on the dotted line. But basically, his agent actually did agree when we did meet them, and we was coming back thinking, well, another one. Well, hopefully another one in the bag. You never know until you actually get that pen on paper, like you mean, of course. So, it's not the first time I've had a player pinch. So,
Alex mentioned the song there. Jermain, what is it with footballers and singing songs when they join a new club? Does it happen at every single club?
Yeah, you have to do it. It's horrible. To be fair, there's a few players that refused.
Like who?
I remember when I signed for Rangers. Obviously, I did it. Literally, you come down from dinner, and because you have to sing, like you can't eat. It's just like you're thinking about what song, you're rehearsing it in your room, and it's just like literally. But you have to pick a song that everyone knows. So when you start singing it, then all the rest of the lads start singing it. Then it's just easy. But I remember Ryan Kent, Rangers. He refused. So we were like, "Kenny, you got to do it." "No, I'm not doing it." I was like, obviously, he didn't do it. But it's one of those things where once you sign for a new club, you have to sing.
What was your best initiation song? What was your go-to that you'd sing?
The best I've seen, or mine?
Or yours?
I just did a classic Bob Marley, and I just hope for the best. I just thought surely
what was it? "Don't worry, be happy."
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly. I thought surely I'll start singing this for about 30 seconds, and then everyone else would join in that. But the best one I've seen was Clint Dempsey. He come to Tottenham, so we said to Clint, "Yeah, you're gonna sing." He was like, "Yeah, no problem. Okay, cool, no problem." He stood up. I didn't know because he apparently he's got albums. He raps and stuff, but we didn't know this before. So he stood up. He started rapping, but as he was rapping, he was putting the players' names in it. So he was freestyling.
Wow.
So he started it. So you could imagine we just started screaming. It's like we won the FA Cup. We jumped up and just started screaming. And after I said, "Clint," he said, "No, I've got albums and stuff like that." But he didn't tell anyone. But it's brilliant.
It was the wrong game.
Yeah, exactly.
love that. Oh my God. I wonder if he'd been like totally preparing that before. Did anyone have to follow him, by the way? Or was he the only one? I wouldn't want to follow that.
No, you just couldn't. If you couldn't follow that, you just be like, I'll do it next week. Yeah, you can't. Imagine.
So I jest a bit with yourself, with Alex and yourselves, but seriously, you are friends and you do like each other. What's it like, Alex, when you're managing against a team that's also managed by a friend? Is it easier or is it harder?
No, I think we've all got that competitive edge, and you definitely want to win. You definitely want to beat your pal. There's no doubts about that, and it's not as if you put the brakes on or anything. You if anything, you're probably even a bit more determined. Playing against Sir Alex, obviously a fantastic Man United team at the time, and he's one of the greatest ever. And Big Sam's no far behind.
How about yourself, Sam? Did you like managing against people that you were friends with?
Yeah, because obviously it's still a determination, but I mean, sadly, tradition has moved on, and in not a good way, and I don't particularly blame foreign managers, just not their culture. But whatever happened was a drink and a chat and a discussion after the game. Win, lose or draw. It was shake hands, and then you go and deal with the team press, and then you'd be into the manager's office and you'd have a chat, and sometimes you could do a deal. I mean, I have to tell Alex Ferguson's birthday is on the 31st of December. So I got this bottle of wine. I don't know if I might have told this story in the podcast.
No, I've not heard this one.
I got this bottle of wine for his birthday, and I'd gone out and got right proper bottle of red, you know what I mean? So it wasn't.
How much was it?
It wasn't a cheap one. It was about 500 quid. So, you know what I mean? So I wrapped it up. Like Mrs. called me a creep before I took it, you know what I mean? So, anyway, so I wrapped it up, and occasionally we had a cup of tea before a game, because once we'd done our press, getting ready. So I give Alex, I just got this for your birthday, like you mean. So he goes, I think, right, great. He said, well, we'll open it after. Like you mean, so fine. So it goes out. Anyway, we lost. So it comes back and I goes, anyway, open that wine. At least I'll go test that. So we opened the bottle of wine. It was a bottle of Imto.
No way.
And I've gone,
what?
So what he did was he got Tony Cope to open up the present, take the wine out, stash it away, and put a bottle of Imto in. And I've gone, so I'm chasing after my player liaison officer who went and bought the wine, shouting down the corridor, and they went, come back, you daft son. It's here, like I mean.
What about from a player's point of view, Jermain, when you're playing against your friends? How different is it?
Again, that competitive side, you want to win, nothing changes. And I think it's different now, because I think when you look at, that's where Roy Keane goes mad, because down the tunnel before the game, seen players like cuddle and stuff like that, and even swapping shirts at half time. Like I could never understand that, to be fair, because you're friends, but we speak after the game. A lot of times after games you might go on a night out together, but during the game, you have to be professional. You win the game for your team and that. But like you said, even in a way, you want to even play even better to sort of like wind them up after and stuff like that. But I never really understand this thing about swapping shirts at half time and even down the tunnel, just like laughing and joking, because I think you've got to be switched on and prepared to win. Yeah,
fans get really wound up, don't they? If you've lost and then you're smiling, hugging the players that you've just beaten you.
Yeah. But that's why you see a lot of players, when you watch telly, you see a lot of players do this when they're talking. They always go like this when they speak. But obviously there's a lot of friends. Obviously, I've played against teams that, you can have 3 or 4 friends in the other team. But at the same time, you can't, even if you play the game a little bit, you can't, because everyone's watching. You can't be talking to your mate down the tunnel before the game and do you want to swap shirts at half time? You can't be having those conversations. It's mad, isn't it? So post playing now, obviously, we see you a lot in the media, but you're at Spurs as well. Tell us about your role there. Yeah, so obviously last season, it was obviously my first year. Just sort of like finding my feet, really. I was sort of like shadowing the under-18s, but I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Just sort of like, completing my badges, trying to give the young players everything back that I've learned over the years. The game has changed a lot, because, you find yourself sort of like watching the sessions and thinking, never done that before. You know what I mean? Played for like 23 years, top level, and it's like that's different from when I started. The facilities, you know, they got spas, they got unbelievable pitches, the canteens like the Ivy, the food.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they've got everything they need to be top. The gym's like on another level to like a David Lloyd's. So they've got everything they need, to be honest. I always say to the young players, you don't realise how lucky you are. When I was at West Ham, I remember we had one main pitch and a smaller pitch, and it was at the time like porter cabins. There was no ice bath. There was just one big hot bath, and then that was it really. But the kids now, I mean, they've got so much. But to be fair, there's a good bunch of players at Tottenham, in the academy. So it's been good. I've enjoyed it.
Do they still clean boots these days, kids?
No, they don't clean boots.
Did you do that at West Ham?
I had to do that. I used to clean Paolo One-Chop's boots. So it was like that. I remember Paolo One-Chop and someone else. And I remember we used to leave, because everyone got jobs. It was me and Leon Britton at the time. And you finish training at lunch about, say, the latest 1:30, and you'd be there until like 4 or 5 o'clock, cleaning the change rooms, cleaning the boots. But then when you get into the first team, you appreciate it. And then, if you're cleaning the right players' boots at Christmas, you get like a little tip. You get like a little bonus. And this was just tradition. So you get like a little bonus and that. So that was nice. But it doesn't happen now.
Spurs, of course, got a new manager this summer. Ange Postecoglou joined. What do you think about that appointment? Yeah,
good. Obviously, from what he achieved at Celtic. And even before that, when you watch his interviews, he says all the time, he's a winner. And yeah, of course, you want to obviously wish him the best. He's got some good players. Hopefully Harry stays. But I bumped into him once actually when I was at my time at Rangers. I bumped into him in a breakfast place. He was sitting in the corner on his own. So I thought, right, he's a Celtic manager. I'm a Rangers player. I'm not going to go up to him just in case there's any Rangers fans in there. Do you know what I mean? So I sat in the corner, and as he walked out, he came over and we had a conversation, and that seemed like a really nice guy, to be fair. But yeah, looking forward to hopefully get off to a good start.
In terms of the difference between managing like a huge Scottish club, Alex, obviously he was at Celtic previously, yourself, you were at Rangers. What's the kind of differences in terms of pressure, do you think, from managing a Celtic or Rangers to coming to a top Premier League team?
Well, the top Premier League teams are obviously high expectations as well. But as Jermain would have experienced at Rangers, that it's a club where you have to win every week, and Celtic are a club in the same category. There's maybe about 15, 20 clubs in the world who have that level of expectation, and that I'm sure you'd agree with that, Jermain. Yeah, in terms of that really, really high expectation. And then when you go and you drop some points in a kind of 3 or 4 week spell, it's really, you don't sleep at night. Absolutely, you don't sleep at night, and it's about getting a winning feeling every single week at a club like Rangers and Celtic. In the Premier League, then at Birmingham, it was about staying in the Premier League, try and get up the table as high as you can. And sometimes the resources are not what everybody else has got, and you have to keep the glass half full. And as Sam says, I think you have to show a bit of common sense, and you play to the strengths of the players that you have, because recruitment is absolutely key, absolutely total for any manager. And any time I've had relative success and won the trebles and things, when I inherited a team from Dick Advocaat, but any of the other teams bringing Dado Precio and one or two other players for that new season worked wonders, and 2 weeks before the season finished, Celtic were in the driving seat. They had, I think, beat us at Ibrox, and it gave them a wee 5-point lead. But then they lost the game in the travels to Hibs or something, or at home to Hibs, and then we went up to Aberdeen and won, and it was all open again, and down to these last days, and it's because of the players that you bring to the club that win you these titles and win you the tournaments.
Did you take over Dick Advocaat? Did you take over from Dick Advocaat?
Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah. Oh, so you did.
Yeah. He walked out to Sunderland, said they're definitely going to get relegated. Yeah. I rang him up when we stayed up and sent a message, but he didn't respond.
Or,
What did you say to him?
No, I texted him a message, said you were wrong, Dick. Off you go.
Because I was with Dick at the club, I remember, and before he left, I remember we played a game, and he pulled me in his office, and he said to me, "You can't play up front on your own. You're too small."
See, I was right.
Yeah.
I said that, didn't I? Everybody told me you can't play up front.
So I said to him, that's interesting. I said, last time I played up front on my own was at Wembley against Bulgaria for England. Scored a hat-trick with my left foot. So this is what I said to him. I said, so I think if I can play up front in the World Cup qualifier at home at Wembley for England, then I'm sure I can play up front for Sunderland at home. I think it was a cup game. I think it was. I don't know if he was just testing me or whatever. And then not too long after that, he'd gone anyway. So.
Tell us the story that you told me backstage about when Sam did a team talk before a game and what he said to you.
Yeah, he was testing me. Remember, so we got to sort of like the back end of the season, and massive game. We played against Norwich. So on a Friday, what he used to do is quite funny. So he used to get Bodza? They used to do, one of the analysts.
Yeah.
So what's that? So what the boss used to do? He used to say to Bodza, right? Obviously, it's a massive game on a Saturday. So on a Friday, how can we... It's probably a thing that you should do throughout your career. How can we get the lads to just to be relaxed? So we'll come into the meeting room, we'll sit down before the manager comes in, and then Bodza will just put something ridiculous on the big screen. Like, it could be like anything on the big screen. So we were sitting there, all the lads would be chuckling, laughing. Everyone's sort of like relaxed. Then the manager walking, right, we're serious now, right? This is the team, this is what we're playing against. So I remember him going through the Norwich team, and I can't remember the centre-halves for Norwich, but, the manager basically said, like, obviously the centre-halves are quite slow, blah, 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 blah. Then everyone was quiet in the room, and then he turned around to me and said, right, so if you don't effing score tomorrow, you're shit, basically. So I was sat there. I remember I used to sit at the front, so I'm switched on. I sat there, and I was like, everyone just started laughing in the room. So we came at a meeting, and then I just thought, you know what, I like that, because that's the sort of faith that he's got in me. He knows that I'd be up for the game anyway. But in a way, it brought pressure on me. But I loved it. I thought, you know what? I need to be on it tomorrow. And then lucky enough, obviously, we won 3-0 on that. But after, I just started laughing.
And did you score?
Clever. I did score, yeah.
It worked then, Sam.
Yeah.
Motivation.
Yeah, clever.
We did a little thing. I'd done. You've probably everybody's heard of a cryotherapy unit now.
Oh yeah.
If you have the cryotherapy unit, it's minus 120. Which is a great punishment the day after if you lose for the players. And of course, obviously, it was a big part of recovery for players after a game, because the games are coming Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. So the better they get recovery, and they only have to be in this for about 2 minutes. So we bought a mobile one into the training ground at Sunderland, which was quite costly, but we managed to get it past the finance director. And of course, the lads had to start going in this. You got to go in this. This guy would go in before the game. Yeah. And I haven't been in many places where in my life where he actually felt the benefits of him, that said that, well, I want to go in straight before the game, like you mean. And nobody where I'd been at before had actually done that. Of course, lots of players would try and duck out and not going in the day after, but actually going in before the game and after the game was pretty good thing for me. And then one or two of the lads started following I think, didn't they?
Yeah, especially the younger players started doing it after, didn't they?
Yeah. So and for me, obviously, I used to go in sometimes on a Sunday and it got rid of a great hangover. So, particularly if we'd, it didn't matter whether we won or lost. I was hungover anyway, but especially in this job.
So we were discussing recruitment, and obviously we are in August. We are bang in the middle of the transfer window. I'm sick of it, to be honest. I can't wait for it to be over. The rumours just circulate non-stop. And Sam, at the end of last season, so a good few months ago now, we were talking about Harry Kane on the podcast. We're still talking about Harry Kane now. Very highly linked to Bayern Munich. I didn't see this one coming, did you?
I didn't know. I have to say, I thought that it would be... Personally, I thought it would be Real Madrid, and Benzema left, and if not, I thought that only not rumours within the club, but rumours in the northwest would be Man United would go full on to to go for him, like I mean, and then obviously the speculation about his age and stuff like that. I mean, if you're going to sign Harry Kane, yeah, you're going to improve your side's goals by about 50%. You know, because he was under the radar last year because of Ireland and City, but he scored 30. You know what I mean? Not 18, 20, 30. Obviously, too many clubs in financial directors' terms write in the depreciation. So you're battling. Well, you can't do that now because you're only a head coach. I can't battle against the financial director anymore. I'm told to just get on with doing head coach. But I'm back with the financial director saying, take that 5-year period, we get into the Premier League, we stay in the Premier League, we get into Europe, we win a cup final. Are we just here for financial reasons, or are we here for the club to be successful? And for Man United to be successful and what it brings to Man United, you know. And after all, when Sir Alex wanted to win the league, he bought Van Persie at 32, I think 31, 32, to make sure he won the league and that before he actually retired. So buying Harry Kane gets Man United very, very close to Arsenal and Man City.
I agree with that.
Well, I'm happy they don't appear to be linked with him. They are linked with Erasmus Højlund from Atalanta. He is exactly as you described there, very young player, just had a one debut season so far. Alex, they're linked with him, and the price tag that's being bandied around is 75 to 85 million, which seems crazy when you think if they just put a little bit more on, they could have maybe battled for Kane.
Seems strange. I mean, I would say if you're looking for instant success, then you've got a ready-made player, Harry Kane, who's... Is he a bargain at this time of his life, Sam? But you would have to say, yes, because of the money being bandied about, this is a guy who will get you goals instantly. And as we said, bringing Van Persie, was it Van Persie you said?
Yeah, Van Persie, from Arsenal, isn't he?
So, you know, him at the age he was at, and he was absolute instant success. So I'm sure wherever Kane goes, he'll be instant success for any team that would choose to have him.
I cannot wait for the transfer window to be over. As a player yourself, Jermain, you will have been involved in some transfer windows, and there was one famous transfer window that you were involved with. And I want to, I like to check stories on this podcast. We hear rumours, and then we get the actual people on, and we ask them, did this actually happen? So there was a story about you and Harry Redknapp, and apparently it was claimed that you'd asked when you were looking to sign for him, you'd asked for a goal bonus, and apparently he told you we're not paying your wages for you to miss. Is this true?
I didn't ask for it. My mum did. I was just happy with the wages, because I remember obviously I was at Tottenham at the time, been there for years, and I think it was one day Ramos came in, and then I was going into 1 year of my contract, so obviously Tottenham had to get some money. Then obviously Harry called me up and said, come and play for me. And it was an unbelievable team, to be fair, Portsmouth. Amazing team. Ended up obviously getting to Europe, winning the FA Cup anyway. So I remember it was the last day of the transfer window, because I'm at home, and it was like a Sunday night. Obviously thinking Monday morning I'll be back at Tottenham. Then all of a sudden I get this phone call, Jays, Harry, come and sign for me. They've agreed the fee, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, then get yourself down to Portsmouth. Literally got down to Portsmouth, didn't even do a medical. Normally you go to 2 hospitals. Like, it's a full day medical, and then you sign a contract. The next day it's a big thing. Turned up at Fratton Park, went into the room with a physio, stretched my hamstrings. Okay, he's done. And then went into the office and obviously negotiating, blah, 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 blah. Just about to sign because Benjani was going to Man City. So I had to sign it. It had to be done. Otherwise, Benjani's coming back. I was going back to Tottenham. So Harry was sort of like panicking. It's not going to get over the line. And then last minute, my mum was like, hold on a minute. And I stopped. So I was like, oh my God, here we go. Mum's like, there's no goal bonus on there. So I was like, goal bonus, Sandra? Because obviously, Harry's known my mum since I was at West Ham. I was 16. He's probably thinking, here we go again. So he's like, goal bonus? You think we're paying him all this money? So what, to miss them sort of thing? It was the funniest thing. And then obviously I calmed her down and end up signing and that. But I think that story's actually in his book.
Yeah.
Really?
I think it's in his book, yeah.
I love that. So was your mum your agent?
She thinks she is, yeah. She's always been like, from like, I've always got an agent, but she's like, no, I've got the last say in that. But it was just funny. I think she's just testing him.
Love that. One for the mums, that, yes.
Yeah.
We'll always do the best for our kids. You mentioned West Ham there, obviously, where you started. How do you think David Moyes is feeling right now? Obviously, they've lost their best player. They're not massively active in the transfer window. They won a European trophy last year. So how do you think he's feeling right now?
And the year before that, to be fair, they came close. I think the Declan Rice thing was always going to happen at some stage. I think with the money that West Ham got, it's phenomenal. And yeah, not been active. Still got a decent squad. Obviously won silverware. I was happy for Moyes, to be fair, because I think he had to have won something there. Because obviously there's loads of speculation about him going and stuff like that. And obviously, I still speak to a lot of West Ham fans, but obviously delighted for him that he actually won a trophy. But I don't know. I think it's, of course, managers. You can probably say. I think it's always important to freshen it up. You know, bring in new players. Because what happens is as well, when you bring in new players, it makes the other players better around you. You know, when you're a new signing, you come into the building. You know, you want to impress your teammates. As a player that's been at a club, you know, and for instance, I've been at a club when they're bringing centre forwards, and I'm like, oh, keeps you on your toes, and you have to bring a little bit more. So I do feel like it's important to bring in new players and freshen it up. I can't imagine he'll be happy about not doing that. And I'm sure before the window closes, he'll try and, you know, add to the squad.
What about from a manager's perspective? I'll ask kind of both of you. He's done a great job last season winning that, you know, the European trophy and lost his best player. Should they be backing him a bit more now, do you think, Sam?
Well, I think that he telling himself he was particularly disappointed in the team's performance last year, and particularly when they were one of the highest spenders in the summer, which puts you, if you're managing West Ham, that's a huge pressure on you from the fans if you've spent that sort of money, like I mean. So, and it didn't quite work out in the league for him this year. So, getting through Europe every week in the European League and winning the European Cup gives him that little breathing space this summer. But it starts all over again, where if he hasn't signed at least 3 or 4 players again, then it depends how much they're going to spend. If they can only spend Declan's money, that's 2 players. Any more than that's diluting the talent, because you won't get 3 players for 100 million that are good enough to beat the players that are already at West Ham. So 2 players for the 100 million would make probably West Ham better. And a lot of clubs ended up by, well, Nottingham Forest was the perfect example. 22 players signed on and just scraped away from relegation. It would have been much better had they signed on 8 quality players rather than 22. So, you know, but you've got to try and convince the owners today, because they're so powerful and think they're so much better in terms of football terms and negotiating than perhaps you are, and you have to left to carry the can, if you like. So West Ham this season be very interesting. Need a good start. Need some of last year's new players to step up to the mark and show that they're worth the money that was paid for them. And often that could be the case, that they need a year to settle. You know, they need a year for the wives to settle, the kids to settle, for them to settle, and nobody pays enough attention to that. Like, well, of course they don't know what happens when a player goes home and his wife is crying. He's never going to play for you, not to his top level. If the player goes home, the wife and kids are happy, he'll come and play for you. And if they're not, she'll want to go back to wherever she comes from, and that's it. That player's time at that football club is done and dusted, because he won't be able to perform at that level for you.
I guess that's the same for you as managers, though, isn't it? Because if you're moving around, your family's moving around.
Well, my wife decides to come with me, or says, you know, bugger off on your own. You know what I mean? So, you know, whatever she says now. I mean, she used to follow me. She followed me over that many places now that in the end she's bound to get fed up with it. You know what I mean? Say, you know, well, off you go. See ya. You know what I mean? So, you know, and then I'll get back when I can and be when I can. But for a lot of the time in the early stages, your wife sacrifices so much, and your kids. You know, when you're being a manager, their sacrifices beyond recognition on what they go through and what they do, because they worry about you all the time. You know what I mean? And you can only be grateful that they're always there to support you.
We'll see you in Saudi, Sammy.
Saudi, yeah, why not?
Oh, Alex, it's like you read my mind. We're going to get onto that in just a second. I'd love your perspective, though, on West Ham.
Yeah, West Ham. I think Moisey has to just bolster the team a wee bit and to make sure that they're a certain big unit in the Premier League. You know, rather than kind of having a great season last year near the top and then flipping a little bit with the bottom three for a wee while and then that glorious victory. And he's lost, as the boys said, his best player. But he can bolster the team with one or two other really good, solid Premier League players. I mean, I think they're linked with the Southampton captain, and Ward-Prowse, and I think some players of that ilk could be a really good signs to make that a really top squad in the Premier League.
Let's chat Saudi Arabia. Obviously, we're hearing a lot about the league out there, a lot of big name players heading out there now, a lot of different aged players as well, not just players coming to the end of their careers heading out there now. I'm really worried, Sam, because I think your phone's going to ring. If Saudi Arabia calls and wants you to go manage one of their teams, you're gonna go, aren't you?
You've got to go, aren't you? Seriously. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? Listen,
I'll be your assistant anyway. So.
and I'll be your football director.
I mean, well, I hope I'm fortunate enough to consider me. Of course, I don't know when I see the managers going at the moment, the more obviously the younger bracket to the more experienced managers like this. But you never know. They're obviously going to buy a very, very good league and with very, very good players. I mean, when they bid 250 million euros for Mbappe and PSG, which is a Qatari-based company, who's got so much wealth, actually accepted the bid.
How do you see the sort of decision-making process between playing in the Premier League and earning even more money?
Yeah, I mean, the money in football now is obviously crazy. And of course, I think when you have been blessed, because it is a blessing to earn that sort of money. I think a lot of players, when you get a lot of players that have come from like working class backgrounds and they realise how lucky they are and they've earned decent money in their careers. But I do feel like, for instance, Jordan Henderson, if the figures are right in what they say, 700 grand a week, I think it's one of those ones where I can imagine when he got the phone call, even if it's that much money, I couldn't imagine it would have just turned around and been like, yeah, that's me gone, I'm 100%. I'm going to go because he's at Liverpool. Not going to play every game, fair enough. You're playing in the Premier League, he's settled. But then you have a conversation with like your wife and your parents and your cousins, and people start getting in your head, and then you think, what, actually this is not about me anymore. Maybe this is about my family, my mum and dad, my brother and sister, my cousins. So maybe you sacrifice your happiness a little bit for others, for members of your family. And I think, and it depends what sort of like stage in your career that you're at. I mean, Jordan Henderson, what is he, 30? Is he 32? I think he is. 32, 31, 32. Older, yeah, maybe older. I'm 33 or something like that. So maybe if he was 29, he might have said no. But I think when you're 30, when you're 32 or 3, whatever it is, you think, okay, then, I can go there and in 1 year, earn more money that I've made in sort of like my whole career. So it's hard to say no, to be totally honest.
Yeah, you have to bear in mind the player's career is short. I think that not every player lasts into his 30s, and you have a long time to live after you finish playing football. And of course, you can't all get a manager's job. You can't all be coaches. And of course, your money will then, unless you've got a career planned outside of football and you can be successful at building a business or whatever it might be. And if you can avoid the sharks that want to pinch your money, and there's the amount of shark fins out there that want to suck you in and say, invest in this and invest in that. And 3 or 4 years later, you find it's gone bankrupt or they've run off of the money. It's staggering to what footballers have to cope with. So you've a huge amount of time to live your life at the sort of level and you want to. You can understand it might drop as time goes on if you're not earning, but definitely in my time and in the time before that, everybody had to go back out to work. They couldn't say, well, I'm all right, I can retire and I don't have to work again. That would never be the case. It could be now for quite a few, obviously, top class footballers throughout the world. So if he gets to that stage like Jordan Henderson, it secures the whole future, and it might well have been secure before that. But you've not to forget that Liverpool have got 20 million for him. They asked for 20 million. I think they got 20 million or close to it for a 33-year-old, which normally, with Jordan Henderson standing 12 years at the club, would probably go on a free transfer and see where he went. Like, I mean, so both clubs are benefited, the Saudi club, because Jordan Henderson's a huge professional, be very determined, wouldn't want to go out there and be a mercenary like people try and say, just gone for the money. He'll want to win. He'll want to be good and he'll not want to do anything else other than that.
Different from the days back in the day when players used to be saying, I'm going to get a pub.
Get a pub, yeah. Yeah, I had 3.
Yeah, Sean Connery. Sean Connery had a trial for Man United, and he says, "I hope I do well at football, and then I can get a pub." Yeah.
Sean Connery asked me Gran out when she was in her late teens. Oh, my family's lived off that story for years. Yeah. Oh yeah, my granddad loved that story. By the way, Sam, if someone from Saudi Arabia is looking for a host of a podcast and they call me, then yes, I think I'll be there. It's not just players that are, of course, going out there as well. Ooh. It's English managers that are heading out there. Yeah. Of course, Steven Gerrard is out there now.
Robbie Fowler.
Robbie Fowler.
Yeah. That third division team. Division team?
Yeah. I mean, Robbie's, I know Robbie really well now, but he'll pack his bags and go anywhere to try and prove that he can be a manager.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been India, he's been Australia,
I didn't realise.
He's in Saudi, and all that's to prove that he can come back here. And his goal is takes a Saudi job. Obviously, the money attractive, but it's not just that. It's to prove that hopefully he get his team promoted, and he wants to actually get back here and prove he can manage at the level in England, which I hope he does. There's the slight past reputation as a player that I think that hinders him sometimes, that people won't look past, and he's completely, in that time, a young footballer that was celebrating and enjoying his life as a footballer, and we all know about the lads at Liverpool at that time like to enjoy themselves and that, but that's all so far gone now to what he is now and what he is as a man and what he believes in and how much he knows about football. So I hope it really works for him and he gets his ultimate goal to get back here and try and prove himself back in England.
Does having success as a manager in Saudi Arabia prove anything to be able to get a club in England?
I think so. I think if you win the league or you win a cup or you proven you can handle the players, like you mean, then it obviously it was different for me. I had to go down the bottom league and do the hard graft and work the way up through Blackpool, Limerick to start with, Blackpool, then obviously Notts County, and then taking Bolton, and then obviously all the Premier League clubs I have after that. Only had 10, by the way. So, but I never expected that. So there's different journeys you have to take. Whereas where you Robbie, or he hasn't happened to him, but if you're Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard gets your job because who you are as a player, and that's can be very powerful for your first challenge and your first opportunity. But it doesn't take too long if you don't get it right that you can fall by the wayside, even as high profile as you are as a player.
Of course, Robbie Fowler, just another one of the guests we had on last season, Sam, that said they wanted to become a manager and then got a job after being on the podcast. So another one we can claim there. Yeah. You got management in your sights at all, Jermain? Because we've got a good record now on this podcast.
Played under so many. Do you know what? I think players that go into management, obviously it's not easy. Like you've seen, I think it's been difficult for Stevie. Obviously, it was an amazing time at Rangers. Frank, it's not easy. It's probably important that, to get the right team around you. I think it's probably important to have someone next to you that's been there and done it for a long time, because a lot of the time you get managers or you get coaches that have coached for like 20 odd years and you finish playing, then you go into management and you've only managed for a year or two, and it's completely different. I remember listening to an interview with Paul Ince. You know, you think about Paul Ince, you think leader, the governor and all that, and then he said that was it Macclesfield? I think it was Macclesfield. Yeah. Anyway, so he said that his first job, he stood in front of the group of players, and he was just like, God, what do I say to him? Sort of thing. It was like nerve-wracking. So, you know, it's completely different. But you know, I love football, and I just want to take my time, to be honest, learn as much as I can, and you know, complete my badges, and then just see what happens.
And Alex, in terms of play managers going abroad, there's a clip of Steven Gerrard that's gone around social media this week where he's coaching his new team. And on the clip, it looks like he is struggling to communicate or struggling to get his message across to some of the players. Is that one of the big difficulties in Yes, you've seen it. Jermain is doing the actions for those, yes, of what he was doing in the video. Is that one of the major struggles when you manage abroad, trying to communicate with players that probably speak all different languages?
Yeah, I guess it is. But obviously you need an interpreter there with you on the training field. And, you know, I did a year in Belgium, and most of the guys spoke English, and one or two of the French-speaking guys from Brussels were more French only. And what they didn't know is that I knew a wee bit of French and I could hear what they were saying, you know, so I could call one or two of them out in one or two situations.
Now, this is the point in the podcast where we do a quick fire section. Although last season, Sam, you were guilty of making it a not so quick fire section.
I'll try my best.
Yes, he likes, yes.
I like to go on.
I'm going to try and keep you all to quick fire answers this time. Okay. Going to go round. So first of all, Jermain.
With Alex.
Okay, Alex, one player that you almost signed that nobody might know about.
Iniesta. Yeah, I tried to sign him for Rangers. We had a really poor midfield. We that poor season I was telling you about. We were barren, and I thought that the one thing we need is a creative midfielder. And Jan Wouters was my assistant coach, and Jan played in Holland and in Spain as well. And he said, "Look, I'll phone Frank Rijkaard and ask him if he's got anything that he could let out." So we were hoping he would say Messi. That's wee guy Messi, you know. But they came out with Iniesta and says, "What's he like?" He says, "Well, he's a good young kid. He's really great with the ball. He's going to be a sensational player of the future." And we said, "Right, okay, we'll phone you back after the weekend." So after the weekend, I kind of looked at the stats from the Spanish results at the weekend. I thought, fuck, they played him at the weekend and they won. So I bet you we're not going to get him. So Jan made the call and phoned Frank on the Tuesday, and he said, "So can we get a wee man now for the rest of the season?" We're fucking keeping him. In Spanish. and you know, so it was very, very close to getting Iniesta on loan, but he went back and he became the world superstar.
See, it's not just me.
That's still short in comparison to your answers, Sam.
Not just me.
Jermain, which manager would you like to go for a drink with?
Oh, the boss here, for sure. Come on, all day.
Yes!
Big Sam, yeah, all the stories and stuff like that. And I've heard some of the other stories as well, so yeah.
Do you know what? We had a bet, me and some of the production crew, before if you would say Sam or not. So well done on that. Okay. Sam, do you think you'll manage in English football again this season?
It depends who wants to pick the phone up and say, "Can you help us in a bit of a problem here?" So nobody's actually come this season and said, "Do you fancy coming and taking us from the start of the season?" So he's stuck with that reputation about just coming saving it, which is fine now, of course. But I don't know. Is the answer.
Okay. Jermain, a manager that you wouldn't want to go for a drink with?
Roy Hodgson, maybe.
Why?
I think Roy. No, nothing against Roy. Nothing personal, no. Yeah. But I think Roy's probably he's more chilled, isn't he? If I could say that, I think I don't know. I don't think he'd probably want to go for a drink anyway.
Does Roy like to go for a drink, Sam?
Yeah, he's all right actually.
Is he?
He's not bad.
Yeah, I don't think he'd probably want to go for a drink. So yeah.
Alex, best player that you managed?
This question is unbelievable. Probably, I would say Barry Ferguson was the best player that we had. Yeah. Short and swift.
Look at that, Sam.
That's it.
Crikey. Right, I love this one. We're getting into the hot, juicy details that you all want now. Sam, who's the most famous non-football person in your phone book?
Yeah.
Is it Ollie Murs?
Murs, probably, yeah. Yeah. Robbie Williams never gave me his number, but never mind.
I've got it.
Have you? Has he changed it?
I'll show you my pictures later.
Jermain, the most famous name in your phone?
Drake.
What?
No, but do you know, he's probably changed it now. But when I signed for Toronto, because he's obviously an ambassador of the club, he actually called me. But I thought it was a wind up. I thought it was Aaron Lennon. So I was going to put the phone down. Yeah. It's like when I was at Tottenham, he phoned me. He's like, "Oh, you got to come, blah, 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 blah. I'll take you out. It's an amazing city. You love the club." Drake.
Toronto used Drake to help sign players.
Yeah. Then I signed for Toronto, got there, never see him. He's always in America, so he's never in Canada, so yeah.
Love that. The audible gasp from the live audience was brilliant there. Loved that. Alex, give us your best Sir Alex Ferguson story that you're allowed to share.
So, I'd like to share this.
He's got that many, he doesn't know which one to choose, by the way.
I know. No, so quite topical, I suppose, cricket. We go to Gordonston with the royal family. We're educated up in North Scotland. And he said, "Look, I'm taking you to Gordonston. We're going to train up at these you get dormitories, it wasn't like hotel luxury for the players, but the dorms of the students who were away for the summer." And he said, "Look, you've trained really hard, brilliant the last few days. Tomorrow we're going to put the whites on and the games master is going to set up the cricket pitch." So most of the boys at Aberdeen Football Club didn't know anything about cricket. One guy, Stuart Kennedy, who knew everything. He followed the English Championship, and Bev Richards, all the best players in the world. And but the first two guys who have got to be opening batsmen is the gaffer and Wally Miller, the captain. So they're the opening batsmen, and the boss, first couple of balls, he just bats them down and says, "I'm going to be in here for a very long time, like Jeffrey Boycott." So we're after him and going, "Who the fuck's Jeffrey Boycott?" So then he gets bowled, the wickets go everywhere, and he doesn't walk. So they're all going, "Boss, you're out." "No, I'm not." So wickets everywhere, and Stuart Kennedy, the guy who knows everything about cricket, he's saying, "Well, there's a wicket there, one over there, and Bale there, and so how you know out?" He says, "You can't be out in the first over."
Oh, they take a brave man to challenge him.
So everybody went, "Just let him in again."
How many times did you let him in?
Well, I think he was out in the next 3 balls or something. Caught and bowled by one of the young boys, and then he sent him running right round the track.
You'd be brave to catch him out. Okay, one word answer from each of you, please. Who wins the Premier League this season?
Man City.
Man City.
Man City.
Yes. Okay, and then a three-name answer this time. Which 3 teams get relegated?
Oh, I don't like this one. Luton.
Luton.
Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest. Or
3. That's 3. Okay.
I'll say Luton. Be tough. Sheffield United for sure. Sorry. Boys. I think Forest, I'll go with you.
Alex?
I'm the same, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's going to be some heartbreak.
I'd love to see Luton surprising us all.
I do have a fear about my old club, which I never mentioned because then I get a lot of abuse from the Everton fans if I said it, but it could. Everton's, I think, because of the financial problems now and financial fair play, that might play a part on that. I've met Sean in the summer about the players he's trying to get in and how difficulties it's caused for him,
Which player are you most excited to see this season? Again, one-word answers.
Starting with me.
Yeah.
Holland again to see if he can keep it up.
Okay.
See if he can still get that 30-plus mark and be the revelation he was last season.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. You can't really look past Haaland because I think his first season scored 50 goals. 52 goals, sorry. So for me, I want him to do the same again. So I'm looking forward to see if he can do it like back-to-back seasons because it's hard in the Premier League.
I like Grealish. I like his improvement has been really good, and people doubting him for a year, maybe over a season, but it's been absolutely brilliant. His form, and the reason I've got a wee feeling for him is because I helped to secure him at Aston Villa in the academy when he was on the verge of possibly leaving. So I should have became his agent.
Okay, and last one. Who gets more assists this season? Grealish, Maddison or Mount?
De Bruyne.
I'll give you that one. That's okay. Jermain.
Oh, Maddison.
Okay.
Maddison. I'm not just saying that obviously because he's come to Tottenham, but no. To be fair, he is a top player. I think goals and assists, I think he'll be up there.
Grealish.
Okay, a split answer. I like that one. We asked our live audience if they would like to ask you all some questions, and we filtered through and picked a few of them out. So, Jermain, first question for you. Who's the best prospect at Spurs?
Best prospect?
So, young player coming through.
I'll say, do you know what? We've got a 15-year-old called Mikey Moore. I don't think he's 16 soon. So when I first got into the building, I heard this Mikey Moore, schoolboy comes in, trains twice a week. So, okay. And the first time I saw him in training, I was like,
is he local?
South East London, but he probably moved. But I remember and you know what it's like. Sometimes like you can see a player for 2 minutes and you just know you can do something small. And I watched him in training and I thought he was doing things I thought he shouldn't be doing that at 15. Do you know what I mean? Then I watched him in a few games when he played for the under-18s, goals, assists. And I said, you know what? I said, it's a big statement, but I said, he reminds me of Gazza a little bit. The way the way he goes past people, just easy, the way he just glides past people, and he's doing it at 15. So hopefully we'll be seeing him in the Premier League soon, hopefully.
Love that question. Big Sam, any British managers in work currently that you think could go all the way to the top?
I think Eddie's getting there with the right support with Newcastle. I think he's got a massive season ahead of him. If I were Eddie, I'd be pushing for at least 4 players this season and saying to the board, if you really want to get there, show me your ambition now. Because if they don't and they fail, the Newcastle fans will turn and they'll turn on him. So you've got to remember that, and this is supposed to be a quick answer, and I'm doing it again. But when other clubs like Tottenham didn't do it with Pochettino, who got the bullet, they never went out and signed 4 players when they got to the Champions League final. And they think they should have won the league a couple of times. And instead of going on, and then Jose ran from Chelsea the same again, because when he won the league, he went, I want another 4 players. And they went, oh, you've got enough. You don't have enough. You never do. You have to keep improving all the time. Otherwise, somebody comes and takes over you.
Alex, question for you. Which league do you believe is of a higher standard, the Scottish Premiership or the Championship?
I'll tell you what, a lot of the Scottish clubs would struggle in the Championship. So I'd say that it was much stronger. But Rangers and Celtic would obviously be there or thereabouts, and they would find it tough as well.
Rangers and Celtic could find it tough in the Championship.
Yeah, they'd win it though. They'd win it.
It is a
They'd
killer.
win it hands down, I think. But,
you think so, Sam?
Yeah, I would.
I wasn't expecting you to say that. Most of the time you find former Scottish managers saying that Rangers and Celtic could be top 6 Premier League clubs. So.
Well, given them time in the Premier League,
Yes.
yes, because they could generate money like no other clubs can do throughout the world. I mean, that's the power that they have. If they got to the Premier League in England, I would definitely give them a few seasons, 3 or 4 seasons, to be in the top 6 and possibly even higher. So no doubt about it, with the spending power that the Premier League has, then Rangers and Celtic would definitely cope in the English Premier.
Love that question. Thanks, Mike. You were brave, but it was worth it. Jermain, which period of your career do you look back on with your fondest memories?
Sunderland. No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking.
Remember, it's a hard one, to be fair. Because even in my 30s, even my time at Sunderland, to be fair, I felt unbelievable there.
Remember,
Really
there's
sharp.
50,000 Rangers fans listening.
Rangers toward the back end of my career. But I think if I talk about at my peak when I was like 26, 27, 28, when I was at Tottenham, and I was at my sharpest, I scored a lot of goals, in the Premier League. But sometimes it's a tough one. It's a tough one because, to be honest, I never thought I'd feel like, even when I got to like 30 and then I came back from Toronto and I signed for Sunderland, and a lot of people probably thought, he's on a decline sort of thing, he's not the same. But even then, I was sharp and fit. But at my peak, when I was obviously in the England squad, playing for England, playing for Tottenham, I was probably at my peak then.
And the last question today goes to you, Sam, of course. Cara would like to ask you, who would be your 3 dinner party guests?
Anyone.
Of anyone.
Yeah,
all
apart
time.
From us too.
Thanks, Alex. Oh, hi, Alex.
Fergie, Muhammad Ali, and Barack Obama.
Oh, very nice. I did think you were going to say Jermain.
Muhammad Ali.
Lovely.
What's yours?
What's mine? Oh, Pep Guardiola, Kevin De Bruyne, Jack Grealish. Yeah. Yours?
Mine would be Denzel Washington, Tina Turner,
Like that.
and Floyd Mayweather.
Yours are better. Yours are better than mine.
Okay, Alex, we've got to go to you now. You can't be the only one.
Okay, I like film actors.
Okay.
Robert De Niro.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little bit of Meryl Streep. Yeah. Good actress,
Only a little bit.
Be interesting. It'd be interesting at a dinner table. Yeah. And John Lennon.
Oh, very good.
Good choice.
Very good. Great question. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much, Jermain, for coming and joining us. Sam, thank you, as always. Thank you for not taking a job over the summer.
Thanks to William Hill again for the sponsorship for this season. We look forward to working with you again, hopefully even more successful than last year. So we'll be on the YouTube, whatever social media outlet we're on. TikTok, tick, whatever it's called, you know what I mean? Even I'm getting used to that now,
Can I just say something quickly?
Of course, Jermain.
A story just came into my head, actually. It's funny. You talk about no tiki-taka and just keep it basic. So I remember we played against Southampton away, Sunderland. So we practiced this set piece in training, right? So the boss had said, right, it's free kick on the halfway line. Said Yunus ball centre half and Lamine Kone centre half go into the box corner. Nowadays, you put the ball down, you'll play. The ball's on the halfway line. He says, Jermain, run towards the goalkeeper. I was like, run towards the goalkeeper. I was like, run towards the goalkeeper. I'll just get the second balls and try and score. So you know what the players like? We're like, okay then. And I think it was Vito. He said to the goalkeeper, come up and just kick it into the box. It's like, oh my God. Anyway, next day played against Southampton. Free kick. Vito kicks into the box. High. Lamine Kane flicks it on. A run towards the goalkeeper. Drops. Bang. Passing the goal 1-0. 1. And I remember coming off the pitch and I said to the boys, I said, how mad's that? I said,
genius.
Yeah. How mad. I was just thinking there, so I had to tell the story in that. But just something that's just so basic and that. I think we ended up winning 1-0, 3 points and that. But just like, yeah.
Again, Alex McLeish, thank you so much. Jermain Defoe, thank you. Sam Allardyce,
Natalie,
always thank
see
you.
Again soon.
Thank you so much for joining us on our
guys.
first episode of No Tippy Tappy Football. We'll be here with you all season long, every single week. So please, if you're not, do subscribe. We get some incredible guests, of course, as you can see from our first episode. We will be back with you next week.